Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Thad Wittenberg. I'll go ahead and turn the, let's see, video cam on just for a second. There we go. I don't know why the screenshot's not coming in very well, but that's probably not a bad thing. Anyway, we appreciate you joining us. We are continuing to get more and more attendees join, so we're going to go ahead and just wait another minute before we get started. Let's see. Hey, I'm going to say, hey, Vicki, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to move through a couple other folks here. Let's see. William, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about this webinar. We did the session this morning. I think that went really well, and hopefully you guys will get some stuff out of it. And we'll have some discussion at the at the end of it or during anywhere in the middle of the webinar. If you have questions, you can just hit your question button or type them in, and we can either open your mic or just read the question out loud. At the end of the last one, there were some really good questions, and that's one of my favorite parts is getting everybody to participate. So let's go ahead, and we are going to start off with a poll real quick just for fun. And the question is, do you feel like your whole team understands your brand and vision? Everybody can just, polls are open just for a minute or so. We'll see what the outcome. It was interesting this morning to see some of the numbers. We got most of them. Okay, so the results are in. We had about, out of 80% of the people who voted, we had 13% said yes, 13% said no, and 75% said somewhat. And so it's probably good that we're having an opportunity to talk about this subject today. I'm going to go ahead and move into the webinar now. We have other people continuing to join us, but let's go ahead and get started. Here's a brief overview of the things that we're going to be talking about today. It all starts with leadership, how you define your brand, how to build a stronger brand with clarity. We're going to talk about attitude versus aptitude, the value of training, delivering touch points, creating memory points, communication and constant feedback, the 360-degree brand, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. And then lastly, we're going to hit on, is your brand winning or losing? One of the most important things that, and why I really wanted to focus on people re-energizing their brand right now is the world is changing out there, and businesses need to change with it. But change is one of the hardest things to do because we're always used to doing things the way we've done them in the past, and we feel comfortable with that. The problem with that is that as consumers' expectations change and the way of doing business changes, if we're not adapting to those things, we're falling behind. We're stagnating. We're staying in place, and that's a recipe for I hate to say disaster, but it's not good. You can see so many different stories of businesses out there that just did not change their business models, their culture, the way their brand was viewed out there, and they ended up going out of business, or they're in a spot headed that direction. But again, I understand why change is so hard, because if I was to ask everybody on this line, are you busy? And I bet 100% of you guys would say, I'm slammed, I'm busy all the time. So where do you fit in the time to say, hey, I want to implement change that's going to improve our business? And you can see the formula up there. It's hopefully taking ideas from this webinar, putting those into actions, and then that equals real change out there. I can tell you this, that the only way I've been able to ever achieve change is to put a real discipline to it. That means getting it on the calendar, sticking to it, and following up all the time. I'll give you a statistic out there that most people who attend webinars or training sessions, there's about a 5% chance that that they are going to take the ideas from that webinar and actually implement them. So let's hope we can raise that percentage here. They may do them, but they may only do them for a short period of time. Long-term change is again, a difficult thing. So let's hope everybody has 1 or 2 action items as the takeaway today that you really want to work on and make sure that you put in place. So they call it the new experience economy out there. As everybody knows, customers' expectations are continuing to rise. We're all customers. When we order something, we expect it to be there the next day or two, or or we're throwing a fit, just because that's what we've come to expect out there. I was working with a guy at our gym, and he was looking to buy a vanity, a 60-inch top, and also the vanity itself. And I gave him a price from a couple local places. And then I asked him what he decided to do. And he said, oh, you know what? I just decided to go out to Wayfair and order the whole thing. And I was like, wow. I mean, sight unseen. He, decided to go that option. And those online options are, there's going to be a multitude of different ways that customers can shop. There's a really good book out there. It's called Re-Engineering Retail, and it talks about why retail in a lot of areas are failing. If you look last year, over 7,000 retail stores closed, but what they don't tell you is more of them actually opened. They were smaller stores, and they focused in 2 different areas. One of them were discount stores, like 5 and under, which is, it's like the dollar store, but it's $5 and less. And it's, it's just taken off amazingly. And the other stores that have been opening up are experience stores, where customers come in and they have an incredible experience. And that's why they shop at those places. He stated that the reason that retail has been failing in so many other areas is that they just don't understand how to create an amazing experience for customers. They're just basically selling. If you get into the point where you're just selling product out of your store, why wouldn't somebody just go online and do it? So we're going to talk about how we can change that experience for your customers so that they are buying from you. It all starts with leadership and how you define your brand. The way the whole thing works is you start with your vision statement, which, I am surprised sometimes that not everybody has a vision statement. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a group of about 12 managers in here from a kitchen and bath chain around here. And when I asked the question, hey, do you have a vision statement? They were all like, yes. And I said, what is it? And there wasn't one person in the room that knew what the vision statement was. So, if the managers didn't know it, the people didn't know it. And really, when you get into it, starts with a vision, that builds the culture, and then that defines your brand. And there was a good question about vision statement and what those should be. I've read a lot about them. They need to be short and powerful and memorable. And that's the will define a great vision statement that's out there. A brand is built by the culture where the whole team takes ownership. So when you're building a consistent brand, let's take like Disney. You know, it's not just the leadership; it's everybody on the whole team. I made a call to a kitchen and bath store the other day that I was working with, and this is how the conversation went when I made the phone call. You know, I said, "Is Tom in?" It's like, "Can I ask who's calling?" So I told him, and then the next question was, "What company are you with?" And so then I told him, and then they said, "Hold on a minute." That was my whole experience with the person that answered the phone, and I was like, "Wow." Just think what customers feel like. Right away, I'm getting an idea of what the brand is of this place. And so when I talk about everybody has to take ownership to this brand, you can't make exceptions and just have 80% of your people who are energized about it, understand it, and are communicating your brand with all your customers and with everybody else out there. I know all of us have worked with people in the past that aren't exactly enhancing the work environment there or the customer experience. And I think it's important that you have a conversation with that individual or with those individuals, and make sure that they understand what the expectations are. And if they can't live up to it, you'll have to make a change. You can't make exceptions to your brand. It sends all the wrong messages, not only to your customers, but also to your internal team that you have. So like I said, it needs to be discussed among the group, and everybody needs to know that they are all adding to the culture and the brand of your business. So building a stronger brand with clarity. Your vision statement should be on everything that you have out there. So it's a reminder of what you are about, because again, the vision statement is what supports your brand. Whether it's literature, every one of your email signatures from everybody in your organization should have the vision statement on there. It should be prominent on your website that's out there. During meetings, it should be discussed. One thing I did want to mention about websites, when I was going through the re-engineering retail, a lot of websites that, first of all, I've seen some out there that I know somebody hadn't done anything with for 5 or 6 years, and they've got blogs that are just were posted in 2014, and that's insane, because that's a customer is going to judge your company by your website too. When there's a referral and they say, hey, you ought to shop somewhere, the first place they're going to go is to your website. They're not going straight to your store. The other thing I would suggest on your websites is to make them personal. Like, you need to have pictures of everybody you have out there, maybe a little background on them, group pictures, events that you're at. I'm also a big proponent of video content. This experience economy is all about connecting personally with that customer. So it's unique again and personalized, and something that really causes them to have an amazing experience. So all these things here are going to help build better clarity. I will challenge everybody to do one thing when you're talking about your brand and your vision. Next time you have a meeting, ask everybody to write down on a piece of paper what the vision statement is, if you have one, and what the brand is that you're trying to deliver, and see what kind of differences you have. Because at the end of the day, you want everybody to be able to understand and deliver on the same message. Okay, so 360 degree. This is one of my favorite ones. A brand goes in all different directions. Every day, day in and day out, people are talking about your company, whether it's customers, whether it's installers, it could be vendors that are out there, it could be fabricators, it could, obviously the employees also talk about your business. So your brand needs to go in every direction. I've seen some people who are as nice as can be when it comes to the customers, but then when they're dealing with installers, it's a whole different conversation, or a vendor or a fabricator. But you have to remember that these people are talking about your company with other people too. And I guarantee you, I've seen people who, talk about, oh, working with this particular kitchen and bath dealer, they beat us up all the time. And I'm like, wow, is the vendor really wanting to go above and beyond to help them if that's the way the relationship has been built? I look at all these different areas that we've listed out here as partners and brand builders. They are all an extension of your brand that you have out there. And they're going to talk about you. And hopefully it will be in a very positive way where you can build the type of relationships that all these different groups of people are helping to support your brand out there. So, never forget about your installers. Hey, they do a great job. Give them a call. Thank them sometimes. Share surveys with them on how well the customer reported back that that you guys did for them. You can do that with your fabricators too. It should all be, saying, hey, look, are we living up to what our brand should be? And if not, what do we need to do to change that? So again, keep in mind the 360 brand is the brand that's going to be the strongest out there. The true value of training. I like to use Disney as a great example. One of the other books I would always suggest is called the Customer Service Revolution. And in it talks about Disney and 50,000 raving employees about customer service. And it says, do you think these folks were just, that they just happened to find all these A players that had this great attitude about serving customers? And the idea behind it was they did find good people with good people skills. But the second part of it was they really, do a lot of training with these folks. I know when we talk about training, we talk about, design training or 2020 training or product training, maybe sometimes sales training. But really, some of the things that they need to be able to do is, how do they help develop the customer experience? That's the difference between attitude and aptitude. Attitude is that you want to help a customer. Aptitude is your ability to be able to do it. And I'll give you a quick example. If you had car trouble and you asked me for help, I would certainly want to be able to help you. But I'm the last person in the world that you'd want working on your car because I know nothing about it. So I don't have the aptitude. And I think a lot of times in leadership positions, when there's an issue with a customer, the leadership will look at that person and go, God, I can't believe that's the way you handled it. When really a lot of times they should probably be looking in the mirror and say, how many times have we really done some role playing and talked about how those issues should be handled? Anytime there are issues, I think they should be brought up at every meeting and just kind of go over just a history of what happened with the customer and what things could have been done differently to make the experience better. So again, that should be an integral part of how you're training your people to support your brand. Okay, let's get into delivering touch points. I know a lot of you probably know what touch points are, but I'll just quickly go through them. Touch points could include, in-person interactions with folks. It could be email. It could be your website. Could be thank you cards. It could be the welcome sign that you have at the front of your store with the customer's name on it. It could be the 90-day follow-up call that you do after the project's done, or the 1-year call, which I always encourage people to do. What these touch points are doing, all these interactions you have, are creating memories. This is what's building the brand within the customers. And we all are customers, and we go on vacation or whatever our experience is. It's creating memories, things that we think about. And I like when a kitchen bath business process maps out all their touch points and what type of memories they're creating. And this is why it's so important, because those customers' stories about you are going to define your brand. A lot of people think they control their brand. They don't. They can just influence it. At the end of the day, the customers are going to decide what your brand is. And so I'll give you, just an example. If someone had just had their kitchen remodeled, they're going to have a lot of people over. They're going to be showing off the kitchen, whether it's friends, neighbors, coworkers, and they'll all be like, "Oh, wow, that's beautiful." And the next question that always comes from them is, who did it? And that's when the story starts. And that story could be A and B kitchen and bath was the one that did it. And, they did a good job. We had some issues, but they took care of it. But it went pretty well. Now, that's kind of a fan that, because that story that they're telling other people is all based on the memories that you created from that experience. Or you could be what's called creating raving fans. And they're like, I bought from A and B kitchen and bath, and they were friggin' awesome. They were amazing from start to finish. The whole experience was just, even we had a couple issues on there, but they were all over it. They took care of it. They even called me, a couple weeks ago just to follow up to make sure that everything was okay. I had a hinge that needed to be tightened. They sent somebody out to take care of it. If you're ever thinking about doing a project, whether it's your kitchens, bathrooms, or anywhere else in your house, that's who you need to use. That is creating a raving fan. Raving fans are the pipeline to your future business. When you start looking at closing ratios, and I don't know how many of you guys measure your closing ratios, but typically if someone comes in because they saw your website or they just, drove by your store and they went in there, closing ratios are around the 20-25% range. If they were sent to you by a fan, maybe not a raving fan, closing ratios start getting up to 40-50%. If a raving fan, someone who is just out there and can't say enough about your business, closing ratios start getting into that 60, 70, 80%. So you can see what impact that is going to have on your business moving forward if you're creating these great memories for the customers, and then that translates into the story that they're telling everybody else. So it's just really important because, the other thing about closing ratios is if you aren't getting a ton of referral business, then your closing ratios are going down. And say you're averaging a 30% closing ratio, that means 70% of the quotes and all the time spent with those customers turns into nothing. I'd much rather have a closing ratio in the 70-80%, which drives up, obviously, productivity, which leads to profitability. So, we're doing these for all the right reasons, but obviously at the end of the day, it's going to benefit your business. Constant communication and feedback. I wanted to make sure I revisited this. This is not only internal or external. Have you ever asked one of your employees whether you think that we're really delivering on our promises and on our vision statement and our brand to customers? You'll hear some interesting feedback. Also asking customers, just say, hey, are we doing a really great job for you? That's what our goal is. And if we're coming up short, we need to know why. Some people don't want to ask those questions because, if they hear the answers, they may have to do something about them. But, without that constant feedback, I look at a culture and its vision and brand, almost, it's fluid. It's like a garden. And if you're not constantly tending to it, eventually over time, the flowers will start to wilt a little bit. Weeds will start to come into the garden, and it will not be the same kind of brand that you had maybe started out with. So you need to be diligent about it and just continue to get constant feedback from your own people and from outside to make sure that you are really creating a brand that's going to be successful for the future. Every major company that's out there right now is understanding that they're different. When the Fortune 500 were given a survey and they said, "What's your number one competitive advantage?" The leading one by far was the customer experience, and then the next one was talent, and those two combined made up like 75% of the. It didn't have anything to do with product. It didn't have anything to do with price. So you can tell how important it is for a business's success. Okay, we have one more poll here before we get into, is your brand winning or losing? And then we're going to get into to Q&A. I just want to kind of get a feel. We don't share this information with anybody. We'd like to understand how your business did last year. Were you down? Were you flat? Did you have growth between 1 and 10%, 11 to 20%, or 20% above? So if everybody wouldn't mind just taking a second to fill out the polls, that would be great. I see some. What are we at poll-wise so far? 92% have filled out, so still got a couple laggers before we close the polls here. Then we're going to go ahead and share the results. Okay. Hopefully they're big numbers. Everybody's growing a lot out there. I can tell you that they are, everywhere I've read so far is that, of course, this depends on where you are, geography-wise, that new construction is going to be a little bit softer in 2019 compared to 2018. But whatever new construction goes down or modeling goes up. So you're probably going to see about a 5% increase. So you can, I always look at whether you're winning or losing as whether you are ahead of where the marketplace is. So here are the results. The ones that were down were 17% of the businesses. Flat was 25%. Another 25% were between 1 and 10%. And we had a third of them that were above 11% growth, which is pretty awesome. So congratulations to you. And to some of the other folks, let's continue to focus on some of the change that we talked about today, so that you can really start seeing some numbers as far as the growth side is concerned. So here's just a couple of things I'd like to measure how well you're doing as far as supporting your brand and your vision and your culture. Is your team living it each and every day? I'm going to send a quick little video out by Jack Welch, which I like to watch every once in a while. It kind of gets me fired up because I know being in a leadership position, if I'm not coming in with energy every day and being positive, the rest of the team will typically follow suit. So, and that applies to everybody. They all have to know that, again, that they have ownership in building this brand. Surveys, how strong are your surveys? If you're not surveying your customers, you should. I would say a goal should be on a 1 to 10 scale that your average score should be 85 or more. That means that you're getting into the raving fans category. If it's below that, you probably need to, again, map out your customer experience and ensure that all your touch points are creating some pretty amazing memories for your customers. How many of your leads referrals? Are you getting a lot of referrals? Like it says, constantly people are coming in saying, "Oh, someone told me about you. And if you are, that's great. That means you're really doing some good things. If you're not getting the amount of referrals that you'd like to, like over 50% of your leads or 60, 70% of your leads aren't referrals, again, you may want to look back at the processes you have with your customers. Closing ratio, we talked about this earlier. If you have a lower closing ratio, like you're only closing 25%, that means that probably a lot of your leads aren't coming from raving fans. And you can raise that closing ratio by focusing more time on the customer experience. I think that's the best type of marketing that you can do out there, is the customer interactions that you have and what you're doing for each of those individual consumers that you're working with, clients. And then, are you growing faster than the market? At the end of the day, that's the key measurement. Are you increasing your sales faster than the market is growing? And we have some people who are in a very positive spot, and we have some other ones that are probably going to need some work. But you know what? The good news is that all of us should be students and attending webinars like this. Hopefully, you're going to have some good takeaways and also action items, because you can listen to this stuff, but if it doesn't lead to action on your end, it means that there probably won't be any change. So we are going to move into Q&A right now and next steps. So the other group was shy to start off with, and then we started getting a bunch of questions afterwards. So go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll open your mic. I'd love to talk to you. I see everybody's still out there right now. So this is a time to chat a little bit. I'd love to hear from you. Don't be shy. Jeremy McBride or Jennifer, Allison. I know you guys are still on here. Okay. Come on, someone's got to have a good question. Someone asked me, okay, so while you're coming up with what your questions are going to be, someone asked me about social media and the best way to approach it. Should it be on a more of building the brand of the company or more of a personalized type of approach? Definitely, I think the personalized approach out there. Everybody can build a brand around their company, and I'm not saying that's anything wrong, but personalizing your brand with the customer is probably the most important thing that you can do to make that connection with them. All right. You want me to open the mic?
Sure.
Hold on, I'm opening your mic here. Is it Sarah? I see you have a question. I open your mic. I don't know if you've opened your mic on your end, or you can type in the question.
She doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, you don't have a microphone.
So her question is, how do you create great customer satisfaction and relationships with those on social media?
So, again, it's all, I'm a big proponent of video content. So when you want to connect with these customers out on social media, I'm not talking about having to hire professionals to come in and do the videos. A lot of times you can buy a little stand like up at Best Buy or wherever, set up your phone, if you're at an event or whatever, make sure that you're taking a short video of what you and your team are doing and then posting it out there. Video content, I think I saw a survey the other day, in the next 5 years is going to be about 80% of what is out on social media and on the internet. So this is a good time to get started and be on the forefront. Other questions? Yes, I see another one. Great.
She said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions that we might have? Okay. One thing I did want to show kind of quickly, if everybody's okay, we did have a sponsor today, which is Cabs, which is a software. It's about a 90-second video real quick. So I'm going to show that. And if you ever have any questions, first of all, I really appreciate you joining us today. Feel free to email me or call me. I'd be more than glad to, talk to you, share ideas, and see if I can do anything I possibly can to help your business. So here we go with the video. I don't know how to close this out. So
Close it out?
yeah, without closing that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Need to close this because I have a. Here we go. How do I get to the main thing and open it up? Okay. It's not that down here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But you have to share
Okay.
the screen.
Nope. Yeah.
Sound.
If you own
Here
a
we
kitchen
go.
and bath business, then you know that there are so many different things to juggle. There's customer management, quoting and invoicing software, job management, tracking key performance indicators, and so much more. If you're struggling to handle it all, then you're not alone. That's why we created Kitchen and Bath Systems, or CABS for short. CABS is an ERP system designed specifically for the kitchen and bath industry that will streamline your business processes and maximize your profits by cutting down on unnecessary waste. It generates real-time detailed reports so you know exactly how you're doing and where you can increase revenue. The one thing every business needs to know. Our CRM allows you to track all your customers and contacts as they move through the sales cycle. Even building a quote is made easier by the integration of 2020 design software. Ever gotten to the end of the job and wondered where all your profit margin went? Well, with CABS, you can track that too. Our system can help you track margin erosion so you can plug up the holes and keep more profit in your pocket the next time around. So why try to manage everything yourself with multiple outdated systems? Sign up for a demo and a free trial of CABS today and get your kitchen and bath business back on track.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. If you are interested in going through the demo, it's about 20 minutes. And we also do them weekly. You can go out to our CABS Tech website and sign up, or reach out to me, and we'd be more than glad to go over it. It's had a overwhelmingly positive response for dealers who are looking for a system that can run their business from start to finish. So anyway, thanks again for your time. You'll see a survey come out, and if you get a minute to fill it in, we'd love to hear from you. Have a great day, and best of luck in 2019.